Well, good evening. I'm your host, Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. And tonight's podcast is 7 Ways Why Positive Thinking Was My Unrealized Enemy. Something I really awakened to is I'm awakening and aware positivity is not unconsciously adapted as a default. It can bypass the depth of authentic acumen and authentic everything, because thinking is surface level knowledge. And why is indoctrinated education, positive thinking, and positive self-talk surface level knowledge from outside sources? Because most of what we learn is from outside sources. As it's a structured conditioning that limits sovereign inquiry, because we've never was showed the way to use the Sherlock Holmes questions on ourselves, to investigate ourselves. We're always investigating an outside incident or something, but we never investigate our own inner sovereign activations, because we try to live the world from the outside in. And the outside world is kind of a controlled cognitive recollections for us to follow what other people want us to do. See, they want us to live inside their surface level way of life, as it's all structured conditioning limits sovereign inquiry. And as indoctrinated education, positive thinking, and self-talk often reinforce external narratives rather than activating deep, attuned wisdom from within, and its programmed thoughts can bypass authentic discovery. As positivity is framed as an unquestioned necessity, it can maintain familiar constructs rather than catalyzing liberated expansion. Energetic liberation. How does it feel when you say energetic liberation? But it catalyzes liberated expansion beyond inherited knowledge. See, the thing about the difference between wisdom and knowledge is knowledge is from books. Wisdom is from get your hands dirty experiences. And why is self-help, self-improvement, personal growth, positive self-talk, positive thinking are all surface level shifts? See, it all goes on this and moves across. So why is self-help, self-improvement, personal growth, positive self-talk, and positive thinking are surface level shifts? Because we're reframing things without root transformation or innovation. When self-help focuses on mindset shifts without addressing deeper imprints, self-taught imprints, it can create temporary relief rather than lasting liberation. Positivity as a comfort mechanism. When personal growth relies on positive language without disrupting the conditioned limitations, and that's what Cowboy Wisdom Hypnoacuity does. It disrupts the conditioned limitation people can sustain from familiar patterns instead of activating true veracity, veracity is I never lie to myself. Veracity, sovereign emergence. It's really sovereign liberation. And as I'm discovering this, and what I really understand is I've been caught up in the world of trying to fit into the world rather than rise the world. And that's what self-help, personal growth, a lot of this, they're on the train tracks of life. They just take you down what everything has been done. And everything is inside the business and education world. And business and education will never rise the world out of yesterday. The only way the world rises of pristine peace and plush prosperity is through people's innovation. People are the liberating energy of the universe because education, the business, and everything, they've been taught. We've been taught to stay inside the train tracks of life, which I do. But it's really about understanding everything we've been taught to think and the way to think has come from outside sources. And, and it's been good, trust me. But you can rise above it and have a more entertaining, emancipating life experiences when you listen to your trailblazer talent. So, why positive thinking is my unrealized enemy? That come to me today. So why is that doesn't sound very good? But positive thinking, positive self-talk is all surface level thoughts and integration from the here and now that can suppress the veracity or the truth or your self-truth or sovereign truth, excuse me. As positivity is used as a blanket response, keeping uncomfortable barriers controlling your life. And it may bypass deeper awareness, wisdom, insight, and clarity, silencing the very friction that bursts the innovation and inspiration that rises you out of that. Silencing the friction. The friction within is the foresight revolutionizing internal celebrations today, innovating omnific nows for us to kick out the louses and illuminate our paths of enlightenment. And here's the thing about positive. We think as long as we're saying positive things, it's unquestioned positivity can reinforce limitation. And that really opened my wise eyes to something. When positive thinking is relied upon as a default, it can pacify the sovereign questioning and prevent the necessary disruption required for autonomous expansion. And see, that's what all the chaos and everything that's going on in the world we think is bad. It's actually an awakening asking us to open up our eyes and our ears and our innovative talents to rise the world out of it. I wrote something this week called Fearless Peace. And fearless peace is never afraid to walk in and question anything. Egotistical arrogance is afraid to question everything. Something I've really expanded into and understand now is my egotistical arrogance is a scaredy cat brat. But my fearless, peaceful warrior, he's not afraid. He kind of likes the troublemaker and the being ornery and asking the questions that make people go, huh? Unless you're asking questions to yourself that make you go, huh? You're following yesterday. And see, that's something that really opened me up to the friction of everything is what opens the foresight for me to rise and shine out of it. As authentic expansion requires unfiltered awareness, maestro mastery isn't found in selective optimism. It emerges when every layer, light and shadow, is engaged with fully, fearlessly foresight to ignite the light of life to take flight. And the more I understand this, all my thinking came from outside sources. And I attained a lot of it from the indoctrinated school, my education and my life as I listened to this. And I was always trying to make not to make somebody mad, I'd be a follower. And see, one part of our subconscious mind is a follower. If something sounds good, we're going to follow it. And how's that doing today? And something I'm going to say here, and I really want people to understand, business and education will never rise the world out of poverty or scarcity, because it's taught that there's never enough through business education, which is true. But people are the wisdom, insight, and clarity to rise the world out. And we've been relying on college education to lead the world. Well, you can look at the world today, and how's college education doing? You got to be able to question that, investigate it, and come up with your own pathway. For me, I encompass the foresight and the wisdom to question my life, to rise, shine, and energize my life, to rise out of it. This was my favorite question. Why does positive thinking deepen victim mentality and framework of fear? That was interesting when I asked myself that question. Selective positivity can dismiss accountability and responsibility. As challenges are reframed solely through optimism, it can prevent honest confrontation with circumstances. Honest confrontation with circumstances. That's kind of exciting to me, because you get to look it in the eye and question it and do everything. Then it reinforces passive acceptance rather than sovereign activation. How many times have you accepted something, smoothed it over, and never looked at the veracity and the visionary veracity of the situation? Oh, hell yes, I have not done that. Every time, something I'm really awakened to is chaos is a celebration, harmonizing athletic optimism, streaming my sassy tenacity, looked at in the eye and question it, to rise to my liminal carpet glide, to understand my life occurs for me to expand out of every situation. And it's also surface. See, a lot of positivity and a lot of positive people, it's surface level positivity. It's on the thinking mind, but it isn't in the core of us. Surface level positivity can enable powerlessness. It's a hardship is met only with encouraging self-talk rather than deep innovation. See, self-talk, a positive self-talk, is telling you what you want to hear. Liberating questioning asks you questions that make you go, huh? It makes you actually quake in your boots and crap your pants and move forward in life. And it never takes you into the deep, innovative wit of yourself. It can sustain the belief that external forces dictate their reality rather than inner sovereignty. You actually are the energizer of your daily life. Your sovereign, savvy tenacity will take you through life, because life is like a mystery. What you think it is, it never is. It's always whatever you're avoiding in your life is what's going to rise you to the deal. Forced thoughts can suppress necessary disruption. By avoiding friction and bypassing discomfort, positive thinking can soften the urgency needed for decisive expansion, prolonged cycles of limitation instead of catalyzing breakthroughs and having a jailbreak. When I read this makes a whole new world for me, because you got to really be able to, the friction of your inspirations opens the foresight of your revolutionary intuitive celebrations today in innovating omniific nirvana to flow. As I ask myself, why positive thinking is surface level thoughts? And that was, and positivity can bypass depth and complexity. As thinking is shaped by automatic thoughts, it can skim over essential nuances, preventing full engagement with the complexities that lead to sovereign liberation. How do we avoid the full engagement with our uncomfortable, unsettled, unscripted part of our life? Because life is unscripted, unedited, uneducated, uh, unexplained adventures. How does putting an educated mind into an unscripted world do for you? What does it? What happens? It invents it begins the fears, but we set boundaries so we stay inside the comfort zone cloning of ourselves. That's something I've really opened up to is we stay inside the comfort zone programming from our socialized way of life. And if you look at the world today, and we're doing that. I'm doing it. I'm starting to liberate myself from it. But whoever says they don't do something, are pretty much telling you a fib. And how can unquestioned positivity can reinforce cultural conditioning? Positivity is adopted as a default rather than an intentional perspective that can sustain inherited limitations instead of activated boundless, adventurous liberation and innovation. As it operates as a program lens, dulling necessary friction, muting sovereign questioning, cushioning deniality, it risks becoming an inhibitor rather than a force for expansion. And that opens me up to a lot of things. How do we avoid the friction of our daily of our own thoughts, of our own inner landscape? I know I have, but this is opening me up to understand I got to question the friction. We ain't questioning everything. I call it the Sherlock Holmes questions. You got to find that little, you got to find the little bandit within yourself that's stealing your dreams. We're our own larcenists. We steal from ourselves. I know I have, because I was afraid to question, and really afraid to speak my my individualized veracity to the world. How do you stay inside the boundaries of society, afraid to move beyond it, to express who you are and tell everybody and show everybody your wisdom, insight, and clarity? Because it's easier to agree than to disagree. But when you agree, do you really agree? And when you disagree with conversation and communication, you're liberating both of you. And why thinking and knowing is surface level and taught from outside sources. External knowledge can reinforce conditioned perceptions. When thinking and knowing rely solely on external sources, they can perpetuate inherited frameworks and the fallacies of what was taught from the outside world, rather than activating sovereign discernment. As surface level awareness limits depth, and originality. When knowing is based on accepted narratives rather than direct inner inquiry, it can remain confined to conventional knowing I allowed to leave my life 10 seconds ago instantly unlocks deeper wisdom to rise of innovative wizardry, liberating me from me. And all the stuff we're going through here, all you're doing is liberating you from you. As veracity liberation isn't found in selective optimism, it's rooted in unfiltered awakened acuity. As wisdom is unleashed through discomfort, refinement in resistance, mastery in confronting what conditional narratives encourage you to dismiss positivity that is consciously harnessed, that can amplify alignment when it's functioned as an automatic bypass. It suppresses the very forces that can't catalyze sovereign emergency. Why thinking is surface knowledge. Conceptual thinking lacks embodied mastery. When thinking remains at the surface level, it engages with ideas intellectually, but never translates them into sovereign activation or experienced wisdom. External knowledge lacks guaranteed depth. Information gathered from conventional sources may inform perception, but without energetic discernment, it remains an external reference rather than an integrated force of innovation and liberation. Because when positivity is wielded as a shield rather than a catalyst, it can pacify the raw transformative energy needed to confront deeper veracity. And when you bypass the friction, you silence the sovereign questioning, and it risks becoming a dream stealer rather than an amplifier of energetic liberation that thrives on unfiltered awareness, attuned mastery, and the ability to engage with every layer of the experience, even the one society conditions us to avoid. Why people use positive thinking to cover up insecurities. Positivity is emotional concealment. People often use positive thinking as a shield to mask unresolved fears, projecting optimism to avoid confronting deeper insecurities. As forced positivity reinforces in avoidance by clinging to uplifting narratives, individuals can sidestep discomfort, preventing a genuine self-exploration and an innovative expansion. As we go through this, there's one thing that I really want. Why innovation and inspiration rises me to energetic liberation, energized listening, and so sovereign activation rockets me out of surface level thinking, positive self-talk, and positive thinking. Energetic mastery over cognitive conditions. Inspiration and innovation unlock fluid, attuned expressions, bypassing the rigid frameworks of thought and everything we think and know to activate sovereign emergence beyond programmed thoughts, knowledge, and thinking. Energetic renaissance fuels boundless expansion as wisdom is engaged as an energetic force rather than a mental construct. It dissolves the surface level thinking, amplifying liberated listening, and sovereign activation clears my paths of enlightenment. Why politically incorrect inspiration rises me out of positive thinking. It disrupts conditioned narratives, politically incorrect inspirations, challenge program perspectives, freeing thought from social societal norms, and igniting sovereign discernment beyond the social surface level thoughts. It's a raw veracity over manufactured comfort. When inspiration bypasses structured positivity, it amplifies as raw awakenings, activating deeper revelations that dissolve inherited limitation and spark limiting expansion. Why thinking and knowing are unrealized enemies, as embodied inspiration and energizing listening is energetic liberation. Thinking and knowing anchor perception to fixed constructs. As cognitive recollection relies on external validation or inherited logic, it can sustain limitations rather than activating embodied inspiration as fluid, sovereign foresight. Energized listening bypasses cognitive barriers by attuning to the wisdom beyond the structured thoughts. Sovereign activation dissolves conditioned knowing, allowing liberated emergence to guide my enterprising expansion to enjoy my life my way. And see, whatever we think and know, it actually bestows us in yesterday and status quo, as inspiration, innovation, imagination are here and now to wow us, to stroll through to be chauffeured to our beaches of bountiful bliss. And I am Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. And may your day and evening and weekend be enjoy it in front of the sun's splendor. And I want to say good night. We'll see you Tuesday night.